Zarella sat alone in the quiet control room of the outer moon station, her 3 fingers tapping gently on the cold glass of the radar panel. The shift was boring, just like every other night. Nothing ever happened out here. The stars blinked outside the window like sleepy eyes, and even the machines seemed tired. She sighed. Another quiet night, she whispered to herself, but then a soft beep broke the silence. Zarella leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. A blinking light danced across the radar screen. Something was coming, slow, distant, and old. Her heart skipped a beat. It wasn't any ship in their database. Not Crethan, not Tulloch, not even the ancient Zeri transports. This signature? It felt wrong, like it didn't belong in there. Time. She tapped the console. The screen zoomed in. UNS Valiant, human design, class, unknown. Her breath caught in her throat. No, that couldn't be. She blinked and checked again. But the reading stayed. Human. It was impossible. Humans were only stories, myths told to children. Scary tales whispered at night. Be good, mothers would say, or the humans will find you. Her own mother used to laugh while telling her those bedtime warnings, but Zarella had always been curious. Now her eyes widened with fear and wonder. Control. This is Zarella on Outpost 9, she spoke into the comms, her voice shaky. I've detected an unidentified vessel approaching. Orbit. It claims to be human. There was a long silence before a voice replied. Repeat that, Outpost 9? She repeated it, slower. This time, laughter crackled back through the speaker. Nice joke, Zarella. Go get some sleep. She slammed her hand down. I'm serious. It's marked UNS. That's human code. It's real. I'm transmitting the signal now. The control center cut the line. Zarella stared at the radar. The ship kept moving closer, its signal steady and calm. Not aggressive, not fast, but full of mystery. Alone in the station, she turned off the public comms and activated the emergency archive access. She knew she would get in trouble for this, but she didn't care. The station lights dimmed, and the wall behind her flickered to life. Old holograms lit the room. More scenes, ancient files, forbidden history, all tagged classified. She tapped through until she found one labeled Contact Report, Humanity, Cycle 1187. Her heart pounded. This wasn't bedtime nonsense. This was real. Images appeared. Tall, strange creatures. Humans stood on alien soil. Fire raged behind them. One held a massive weapon. Another was carrying a wounded child. Their eyes looked wild but intelligent. Primitive but proud. Zarella gasped. The footage changed. Alien armies clashed with humans. But something was off. The humans never struck first. They defended, but never invaded. The stories were lies. She turned off the screen. Trembling. Suddenly, the radar beeped again, louder this time. Signal lock acquired. Incoming message. Zarella's breath hitched. The human ship was broadcasting. She hesitated. Then played the message. A deep, calm voice spoke in strange, slow galactic common. This is Captain Daxon of the UNSC Valiant. I come in peace. I request permission to land. Zarella froze. Captain Daxon, a real human, speaking her language. Everything she believed was shattering. Her people had erased them from memory, lied to everyone. But why? Why hide the truth? She looked back at the blinking. It was still coming. Not to attack, just to land. But what did he really want? And why now? Zarella's fingers hovered over the reply button. Every part of her said to report this, to call the council, to shut down the radar and pretend nothing happened. But her heart, her curious, daring heart refused. She whispered to herself, I have to know. And with that she pressed reply. Zarella didn't sleep that night. The human signal still echoed. In her head those calm, slow words from Captain Daxon. I come in peace. I request permission to land. But peace didn't make sense. Not from a myth. Not from a race her people feared enough to erase from history. She stood in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection. Her violet skin was pale. Her crest twitched. With nerves. Why would they lie to us? She whispered. She needed answers. But no one would give them, not officially. So she took a risk, deep under the capital city. Far away from her moon station, the Hall of Origin stood silent. It was a museum for citizens, but the real secrets were kept in the underground levels, locked behind government clearance. Zarella's uncle used to work in the archive division. Before he vanished, he once told her, if something doesn't make sense, it's because someone doesn't want it to. That memory pushed her forward. She used an old code, a forgotten family access key. It should have been deactivated long ago. But when she tapped it into the secure console, access granted, she slipped inside. The room was cold. The air felt heavy, like even the shadows were watching her. Rows of ancient data crystals lined the shelves, glowing faintly. She searched for one word, human. Nothing came up. So she tried another. Cycle 1187, redacted incidents. Beep. One file appeared. Class Omega event? Contact with off-world species? Eyes only. Her hands shook as she slotted the crystal into the viewer. The hologram blinked on. A female alien high-ranking spoke directly into the camera. We underestimated them. They were not monsters. They offered help, medicine, peace treaties. In return, we betrayed them. Zarella's heart pounded louder than the quiet hum of the machine. The woman continued. When we realized how fast they learned, how quickly they adapted, the council voted. Humans were not to be studied. They were to be removed. Video footage replaced the woman's face, a human child running from a plasma drone. A man shielding a group of aliens with nothing but metal armor, explosions, screams, betrayal, but, again, humans didn't strike first. They defended, then the final part played. A vote, 7 council members, 6 voted for erasure. 1 Zarella's uncle voted no, that same uncle, who disappeared. She covered her mouth, shocked. Her people weren't victims. They were the aggressors. The humans hadn't vanished naturally. They'd been silenced. She pulled out the crystal and quickly hid it inside her bag. Her hands were sweating. Her mind raced. Everything she'd been taught as a child was wrong. Her own family had tried to tell the truth and paid the price. Just then, the lights flickered. A mechanical hiss echoed through the archive. Zarella froze. Security bots. She bolted from the archive chamber, taking hidden paths through the museum's maintenance tunnels. Her breath came fast. Her feet echoed in the silence. By the time she returned to her small ship docked outside the city, her legs were shaking, but she had what she came for, the truth, back in orbit. The human ship still hovered quiet, unmoving. She sent a private message to Captain Daxon. I have questions. I think you do too. Meet me. No weapons. Minutes passed. Then his reply came. Agreed. I'll come along. Zarella looked out through the glass window of her ship as the human shuttle approached. It was small, simple, nothing like the war machines in the ancient footage, but the closer it came, the more her heartbeat raced. This wasn't just a meeting. It was history waking up, and she was the only one brave or foolish enough to face it. The airlock hissed. Zarella stood still, her hands clenched behind her back, watching the human shuttle connect with the landing bay of her private vessel. Her heart thudded like a warning drum. She had studied every image, every ancient file, but no file could prepare her for this moment. The last known human was about to step through her door. The myth said humans were beasts, savage, cunning, unstoppable. But the files she'd uncovered told another story. A tragic one. A betrayed one. Now she would see for herself. The door slid open. He stepped in. He was taller than she expected. Wrapped in a long dark coat, his face worn by years of struggle. Eyes sharp like a blade, but he didn't raise his voice. Didn't draw a weapon. He looked around, and then met her gaze. You're the first alien I've seen in over a decade, he said calmly. Thanks for not shooting me. Zarella's crest twitched slightly. She didn't know what to say. No words felt right. I'm Zarella, she finally managed. I'm not authorized to speak with you. But you did, Daxon said with a small smile. So either you're very brave or very reckless. She nodded once, maybe both. They sat across from each other, a table between them. Silence thick in the air. Zarella activated a small hologram images from the ancient archives. The ones she had stolen. Daxon watched them with quiet eyes. I know, he whispered. I lived it. She looked up, surprised. You were there? I was young, a soldier. We came in peace. Your leaders, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Didn't believe us. Zarella's throat felt dry. Why return now? After all this time? Because we're dying, Daxon said simply. Our kind scattered after the betrayal. I'm one of the last. And I didn't come to fight. I came to ask a question. He leaned forward. Did anyone regret it? Before Zarella could answer, her console beeped urgent alert. Her eyes widened as she read the incoming transmission. Zarella, unauthorized contact detected. Return immediately. The council has activated contact protocol. Rhea, she stood up fast. They know you're here. Daxon didn't flinch. Let 'em come. I expected this. No, she said quickly, pacing. They'll arrest you. Or, worse, they don't want the truth getting out. You've seen the truth, he replied. Isn't that enough? Zarella turned to him, angry. No, knowing isn't enough. My people erased your kind. They buried history. If we stay silent, it will happen again. Daxon stared at her, then nodded. You're not like them. Outside, interceptor ships moved into orbit, the warning lights inside. Zarella's ship turned red. She was now a traitor for speaking to a human. She turned to Daxon. I can hide you. There's a maintenance shaft under the medbay. Stay quiet. I'll deal with the council. You'll be branded, he warned. They'll erase you too. I'd rather be erased for truth than praised for lies. He gave her a strange look, part respect, part sadness. You remind me of someone, he said softly. A girl I once saved. Before everything burned, Zarella activated the medbay hatch. Go. Daxon disappeared into the shadows just as her ship was boarded. 3 armored guards stormed in, weapons raised. Zarella, step away from the controls. You are under investigation for unauthorized alien contact. Zarella raised her hands, calm. There is no alien here. Just me. And a lot of unanswered questions. The leader frowned. You accessed Forbidden's files. I did. Why? She looked him straight in the eyes. Because I stopped believing in bedtime stories. And I wanted to know who the monsters really were. Zarella sat alone in the cold chamber after the guards left. They didn't find Daxon, but they also didn't believe her. Now, her access codes were locked. Her ship was being watched. Her name was flagged as a potential traitor, yet strangely she felt free for the first time in her life. She wasn't just following orders, she was following truth. Late that night, when the ship's systems powered down for energy cycle, she tapped the hidden panel under the medbay. The hatch slid open. Daxon stepped out. He looked tired, but not afraid. How bad is it? He asked. They're watching, she whispered. But they don't know you're here, not yet. Daxon nodded slowly and sat down near the window, gazing out at the stars. Zarella watched him carefully. Everything about him seemed heavy-like. He was carrying a lifetime of loss. Finally, she spoke. Tell me what happened to your people. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pointed out the window. You see that bright star, the blue one? She nodded. That's Earth, or what's left of it. Zarella's eyes widened. You came from there? Daxon nodded. A long time ago, before the betrayal. Before the silence. He began to tell her. Not like a soldier giving a report, but like a man remembering ghosts. He told her about the first contact missions, how humans came with medicine. Translators, even teachers. They didn't want to conquer. They wanted to connect. He told her about the betrayal, how, during a peace meeting, the alien council turned on the humans, ambushed them, bombed their cities, hunted their children, and then he told her the worst part. They erased us from your history, but we didn't vanish. We scattered, hid, fought to stay alive, but without allies. Most of us faded away. His voice went quiet. I'm one of the last. Zarella felt her chest tighten. What do you want now? She asked softly. He turned to her. Closure. She didn't understand. You came all this way? Just for that? Daxon smiled faintly. I wanted to look into the eyes of the people who erased us and see if they still believed the lies. Zarella swallowed hard. And she asked. He looked straight at her. I see doubt. And doubt is a crack in the wall. A silence fell between them. A heavy one. Then Daxon asked a question she didn't expect. Why did you help me? She hesitated. Maybe she should have said something smart, something official. But the truth came out instead. Because you looked real, she said. Not like the monsters in our stories. You looked tired, alone, hurt, and I didn't want to be part of the lie anymore. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out something small. A pendant. Inside was a faded photo of an alien child with bright purple skin. And a human woman holding her. Zarella's eyes widened. That's my daughter, Daxon said quietly. Half human, half alien. She died in the first purge. Zarella covered her mouth in shock. The pain in Daxon's eyes wasn't just from war. It was from loss. He had loved one of her kind, and he had paid the price. The ship shook suddenly. An alarm blinked red across the room. Emergency notice. Incoming. Patrol craft, prepare for inspection. Zarella stood fast. They're scanning again. You need to hide. But Daxon didn't move. No, he said, no more hiding. You'll be captured, she warned. He stepped forward, voice calm. Let them come. I want them to see me. I want someone in this cursed galaxy to remember who we really were. Zarella clenched her fists. She had a choice. Now, let him be taken, or stand beside the man whose people were buried in lies. Her voice shook, but it was clear. If they come for you, they'll have to take me too. Zarella stared at her reflection in the ship's window. But she didn't see herself. She saw a traitor, a truth seeker. A threat, everything she once trusted, the government, the council. Even her teachers had fed her lies since she was a child. And now, the man who proved it was sitting in her medbay watching the stars silently, as if searching for ghosts. Daxon had nothing to gain. No army, no home, no more people. Only truth. Are you sure about this? She asked him quietly. I've never been more sure of anything. Daxon replied, not turning to face her. If they kill me, so be it. But the truth should die loud. Not quiet. Zarella opened her data console. She made her decision. She wasn't going to let history lie anymore. She activated a private relay, an illegal one. Then she opened the stolen files, the real ones, the ones showing humans offering peace, the ones showing her ancestors striking first, the ones showing her uncle voting no against the purge before he mysteriously disappeared. And finally she recorded her own voice. My name is Zarella, communication officer of Outpost 9. What you've been told about humans is false. They came in peace. We betrayed them. I've met one of the last. He carries no weapon, only the truth. I release this message for anyone who still believes in justice. Her voice cracked at the end, but she didn't delete it. She uploaded the file and she pressed broadcast to all channels across the system. The signal flashed on screen stations, ships, schools, even council chambers. People stopped what they were doing. Some gasped, others shouted. A few cried, and on the council floor panic erupted. Shut it down! One elder screamed, block the channels! But it was too late. The message had already spread within hours. The public was in chaos. Young aliens marched on the streets, demanding the truth. Historians rushed to unlock sealed archives. Families argued at dinner tables. Was it all a lie? The old stories were falling apart. And Zarella's name was on every news channel. Traitor or hero? Alien officer claims human massacre was covered up. Who is Daxon, the last human? Inside her ship, Daxon stood next to her as the world outside shook. You just started a war, he said softly. She turned to him. No, I just ended a lie. Daxon looked at her with something new in his eyes, not just respect, but hope. The kind he hadn't felt in years, but it didn't last long. Her console beeped. Urgent alert, Zarella is now listed as a class of fugitive. Shoot on sight. She sighed. Well, I guess I'm officially famous. Daxon almost smiled. Welcome to the Resistance. Just then, a direct message came through, encrypted, old coding, forgotten format. Zarella frowned. This code, it's from my uncle's badge. She tapped to open it. A hologram flickered to life, an old man with tired eyes and a scar across his cheek. It was her uncle. Alive. If you're watching this. His voice said, "You found the truth. Good. I've been in hiding since the purge. You're not alone. There are others who remember, others who regret. Find me, and bring the human." The message ended with coordinates. Deep in the shadow zone of an abandoned moon, Zarella turned to Daxon, fire in her eyes. "They lied to bury you, but now the galaxy will know you lived." Daxon reached out slowly and placed the photo of his daughter in her hand. Then, "Let's make sure she didn't die for nothing." Asterisk, the galaxy didn't sleep. Zarella's broadcast had lit a fire that no one could put out. Crowds protested in the capital. Pilots refused orders. Teachers stopped teaching the old lies. Young aliens hacked into restricted archives and spread more hidden truths. But the council didn't back down. They doubled their patrols. They arrested anyone who shared Zarella's message. And worst of all, they put a price on her head. Zarella sat inside her cloaked ship, parked on a dead moon surrounded by thick clouds of ash. Beside her, Daxon adjusted a worn-out wrist scanner. "Are you sure your uncle is here?" he asked. She nodded. "He sent the signal. If anyone knows how to fight the council from the inside, it's him." Daxon looked out the cracked viewport. "This moon smells like war." She didn't respond because he was right. As they approached the meeting point, a strange silence hung in the air. Then dash movement. From the shadows stepped a group of aliens, wearing ragged cloaks and carrying old weapons. Their leader pulled back his hood. Zarella gasped. "Uncle Korev." His face was older, harder, but his eyes still held the fire. She remembered. "You really did it," he said, voice low. "You spoke the truth." She stepped forward, hugging him tightly. "I thought you were dead." "I was," he said grimly. "In every record I am." Then he looked past her to Daxon, their eyes locked. "So, the ghost of Earth walks among us," Korev said. Daxon didn't blink. "Just a soldier with nothing left to lose." Korev gave a short nod. "Then you're exactly what we need." In an underground bunker beneath the moon's surface, Korev led them to a control room lit by flickering lights. Dozens of aliens worked quietly, young and old, different species, all outcasts. "This is the remnant," Korev explained. "The last group who never believed the council's lies. We've been waiting for proof. And you, Zarella, gave it to us." Zarella stepped closer. "Then help me. Help him." But Korev's face turned grim. "There's a problem." Back in the capital, a coup had begun. A powerful general, loyal to the council, had declared martial law. Soldiers were storming cities. News feeds were blacked out. Anyone wearing a resistance symbol was taken or killed, and worse. The council had twisted the truth. They called Daxon an invader, claimed he was using mind control. They were preparing to launch a massive strike on the remnant. "They'll hit us in hours," Korev said. "We can't hide anymore." Zarella looked around at the rebels, tired, scared, but ready. "We don't hide," she said. "We speak louder." Daxon stepped forward beside her. "Let them come. But when they do, we show them who the real monsters are." The bunker shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Enemy ships had arrived. Above ground, engines roared. Troop pods dropped like falling stars. Korev barked orders. "Arm the shields! Evacuate the civilians!" Zarella grabbed a blaster. It felt strange in her hands. She was a comm officer, not a soldier, but this fight wasn't about weapons. It was about truth. She turned to Daxon. "If we don't make it," he stopped her with a glance. "We will, because this time, we're not alone." As the attack began, something unexpected happened. Other outposts across the system rose up. Pilots refused to bomb civilians. Council guards turned their weapons on their own commanders. Teachers, artists, farmers, even former council aides began marching under one phrase: "We remember the human." It spread like wildfire. Even in battle, hope was rising. Zarella stood on the front line, side by side with Daxon. As enemy walkers marched through the dust, behind them, rebels stood firm. Ahead of them, fear approached, but in her heart she felt Something strange, not fear, but purpose, because even if they fell here, the lie had already died. Smoke covered the battlefield like a ghostly curtain. Fires burned across the broken moon. Rebel fighters lay injured. Council ships floated in ruins. Silence filled the air, but it wasn't the silence of peace. It was the silence after a storm. Zarella stood on a hill of ash, her armor cracked, her face smeared with dust. But her eyes were bright alive with fire. Beside her stood Daxon. His coat was torn. Blood stained one side. Yet he was still standing. Still breathing. Still human. Hours earlier, the final battle had begun. The council launched a full assault. The skies turned red with laser fire. Missiles fell like rain. Soldiers charged like shadows across the cratered fields, but the remnant did not break. Zarella had stood in the center of the chaos. Her voice broadcast across all channels. You've been lied to, but you don't have to die for a lie. Lay down your weapons. Stand with truth. And slowly, they had, one by one, soldiers stopped firing. Some even turned around protecting the rebels. Instead of attacking them, even the enemy wasn't blind anymore. But not everyone wanted peace. Final figure arrived. High Commander Zellar, leader of the Purge, the one who erased history, stepped onto the battlefield in a black exosuit, towering above the rest. You should have stayed hidden, human, he growled. We buried your kind for a reason. Daxon stepped forward alone, unarmed. You buried us in lies, he said. And now you dig your own grave. The commander attacked. Daxon dodged the first strike, but the second slammed him into the ground. Zarella screamed, but Daxon rose, wounded, bleeding, but unbroken. He charged not with weapons, but with truth. Burning in his voice, humanity was never your enemy. We were your reflection. That's why you feared us. He leapt, using the last of his strength to rip open Zellar's power cord. The suit exploded, and both of them disappeared in the blast. Now, in the aftermath, Zarella stood over the crater where Daxon had fallen. She dropped to her knees. There was no body. Only his pendant. The one with the photo. His daughter. She held it to her chest and let the tears fall. Days passed. Across the galaxy, the story of the last human spread like wildfire. Statues of council elders were torn down. Archives were reopened. Schools taught the truth again, and the phrase that echoed on every planet was, Daxon the last. The myth had become a man, and the man became legend. Zarella returned to the capital, not as a fugitive, but as a symbol. The people listened. Now they believed her. She stood before the new council built from rebels, historians and truth-tellers, and she spoke. I saw him. I fought beside him. And I watched him give everything, not for revenge, but for truth. Daxon didn't want war. He wanted healing. She paused. Then added softly, we owe it to him to become better than we were. The chamber fell silent. Then, slowly, applause. Years later, on a peaceful world once controlled by the council, children played in a field near a tall silver statue. A girl with violet skin looked up at it and asked her teacher, Who is that? The teacher smiled. That's Daxon, the last human. He was once a ghost, a story, a forgotten name. But he came back to remind us who we really are. And who's the girl next to him? The child asked, pointing to the statue of Zarella beside Daxon. The teacher's eyes softened. That was the first alien to believe in him. Her name was Zarella. And together, they changed everything.